Good morning, everybody. My name is Gail Eyestone. I've been Grace's friend for a long, long time, and I'm so glad to see all of you here today as we come together to celebrate the life of Grace Hwang. I want to thank our classmate Leroy Johnson for providing the beautiful piano music. And at this time, I'd like to welcome Dr. Amy Rosine from the KSU Music Faculty. She and Leroy are going to provide us a special musical number.
Roy and I just wanted to share with you the selection that we chose to sing today. It might be a little bit different than something you expect for memorial service. This is actually an opera aria we're going to sing from Hwang. And we chose this because we know how much Grace loved classical music and vocal music and ballet. So we thought it fitting to sing an aria from Hwang where Mimi is saying goodbye, but she's saying goodbye without regret.
Well, I'm going to share with you Grace's story, and I hope this will inspire a lot of you to remember at what point in Grace's timeline that you became acquainted with her. Grace Yashwen Hwang was born on January 5th, 1956 in Kaohsiung, Taiwan, the eldest daughter of Ching Lai and Mei Lan Hwang. As a child in Taiwan, she took her role of the eldest cousin seriously, developing her leadership skills as well as her capacity to care for others at an early age. In 1963, she immigrated to the United States with her mother and her brother Frank after her father received his degree from Kansas State. And he got a teaching position at Washburn University in Topeka, Kansas. They later moved to Manhattan in 1966 when he became a faculty member here at Kansas State. Grace attended Manhattan schools, including Lee Elementary School. That's where I first met her in the 4th grade. And we continued to be the best of friends for the next 50 years. Grace naturally assumed a leadership position among our classmates, organizing us at every turn and developing a keen sense of political and social activism, which was a driving force throughout her life. She was active in Girl Scouts and served with me on student council every year from junior high through high school. She was part of an incredible group of debaters at Manhattan High under the tutelage of Roger Brannon, and she was involved in pep club and writing for the school paper, The Mentor. And she was the self-appointed president of the Manhattan High School Students for George McGovern for President. Grace became a U.S. citizen at the age of 16, and she graduated from Manhattan High in 1974 with honors. She always remembered fondly her childhood friends, especially those from Lee School. She felt that group of friends were among the best of the best. From 1974 to 75, Grace and her family lived in Copenhagen, Denmark, where her father had a sabbatical leave from Kansas State. Grace and her brother Frank attended an American Field Service language camp in Denmark to learn Danish. The first semester she attended a local high school, and the second semester she attended university classes in Copenhagen. She entered Kansas State in the fall of 1975 and graduated with honors with her degree, her Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science from Kansas State in 1978. While at Kansas State, Grace Hwang was the first woman member selected for the Blue Key Honor Society, which previously had been an all-male organization. Blue Key is a scholarship, leadership, and service society. Grace was also a campaign manager for a candidate for the KSU student body president. Her candidate lost by a few votes, but this was a role that she would take on multiple times throughout her life, assisting in several other campaigns. She was a finalist for the Rhodes Scholarship to study at Oxford University in the United Kingdom. And she was a Fulbright Scholar to Gothenburg, Sweden, studying women in politics from 1978 to 79. Grace graduated with a master's degree from the Fletcher School of International Law and Diplomacy in 1981. During that time at Fletcher, Grace met many of her dearest friends. She squeezed in a summer job working at the World Bank in Washington, D.C. the summer before she started classes at the Georgetown University Law School. Grace shared a townhouse with two of her best friends from Fletcher, Kyle Pitzer and Jan Kirch, who are both here with us today from Washington, D.C. Grace received her law degree from Georgetown in 1984, and she was editor of the Tax Law Review. I don't get that, but that's what she did. From 1985 to 94, she was an attorney with Curtis Millay Prevost Colt in Mosul and Graham and James, both in New York City, and then she moved to in-house counsel at 9X, which later became Verizon. One of the things that she did during that time at 9X, there was a strike, and Grace and the other attorneys and other administrators at 9X had to do things like drive delivery trucks of equipment throughout New England. You can imagine Grace driving a panel van in the wilds of Vermont. During her years in New York, she was an avid New York City ballet fan and attended so many musical performances, plays, and Broadway shows, as many as possible. She loved entertaining family and friends at her no-hole apartment, which she shared with her Fletcher School classmates. She also enjoyed many summers sharing beach houses with friends in the Pines on Fire Island in her role as house mother. One of her best friends in New York was instrumental in helping her start her family, David Gall, the father of her son, David Hwang. When she became a single mother, in 1994, she moved back to Manhattan to be close to her family and to provide David with the best education. She worked for her father's software company and also was a pre-law advisor here at Kansas State. She taught as an adjunct professor in the College of Business Administration, and later she worked as the development director for international programs in Hale Library for the KSU Foundation. She then became an assistant professor for the School of Leadership Studies and also was an adjunct professor for the American Ethnic Studies program here at Kansas State. After assisting several of her friends adopt daughters from China, in 1997, Grace adopted her daughter, Catherine, from the orphanage in Yangzhou, China. This was the year Hong Kong was returned to China, and I was privileged to go with Grace on this journey. Grace was a member of PEO Chapter BD and was a board member for several organizations, including the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, also known as ALDEF, based in New York City, the Girl Scouts of Northeast Kansas and Northwest Missouri, the Manhattan Arts Center, Oak Grove School, and the KSU Dance Program Board. For those of us who knew Grace, it seemed like she was always raising money for something or someone. A brief list includes raising funds for the dance studios in Nichols Hall here at Kansas State and supporting the local Manhattan dance programs, the Taiwan wing of the International Studies Center, and the Staley Leadership Studies building, as well as several scholarships and endowed chairs here at Kansas State. Grace was also a member of the University of Kansas Medical Center's Bone Marrow Transplant Advisory Board. Grace credited her physician, Dr. Joseph McGurk, and his team of dedicated doctors and nurses for giving her these extra years of life with her family and friends. Her first and last business venture was setting up and running Grace's Asian Fusion Cafe. If you had the pleasure of dining there, you know how great the food was. Grace is survived by her son David and daughter Catherine, her brother Frank and his wife Elaine and their 3 children, Caroline, Nicholas, and Michael, her sister Jean and her husband Philippe Caron, and their children, Noemi, Angelon, and Luke, and a large extended family and friends. I have so many memories I could share with you of all my times with Grace, and I would be happy to do that with you at another time. Because right now, I'd like to offer the microphone to anyone who would like to come forward and share some of their memories of Grace, or perhaps share something that Grace did for you that led you to on a path of where you are today.